I feel strongly about that. I feel, honestly and truthfully, Bubba, I ain't gonna lie to you, I feel like there was an accident. I feel like something happened while Quinton was in the bathtub and he drowned and they were both high. That's my theory.
Well, hell, they should just call the police if something like that happened.
Whenever you're high as hell, man, you do stupid shit. Even yourself, you're a different person whenever you defending her. Because I'm not defending her. You know what I mean? But I know I'm not the same person on the...
Something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
And I will walk with her.
My kids woke up to me screaming, "Where's Quinton?" and running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, just started screaming for help.
A little boy named Quinton Simon. He's only 20 months old. He went missing on October 5th, and that was the first day I made a video about him. Today, as I film this, it is Tuesday, October 25th. It's 20 days later, nearly 3 weeks later, and Quinton still hasn't been found, unfortunately. Back then, we didn't even know the correct spelling of his name, and I found it really weird that it took 3 hours for Quinton to allegedly get reported missing. The only thing I first learned about the case out of Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia, was that Quinton was allegedly seen around 6 a.m. that morning, but reportedly wasn't reported missing until around 9-ish a.m. that morning. That was my first red flag. I was wondering, okay, who saw Quinton at 6 a.m. and why did it take all that time later for him to be reported missing? In the 3 weeks that have passed, we've learned a lot more. This case has really blown up. We have protesters and demonstrators outside of Quinton's home. Some are getting arrested. Finally, Quinton Simon's mom is speaking out. Her name is Leilani. She's only 22. She's a really troubled girl. Leilani and her own mom, Billy, have been really making the news. Let's take a look at these interview snippets now that Leilani is finally speaking out. Police have gone so far as to say that Leilani is their only suspect in this case and they don't think Quinton is alive anymore. They won't give us everything, but police are saying that Quinton was most likely disposed of in a dumpster. That's why they're searching the landfill for the little boy. It's the Superior landfill that cops are just digging through. A dirty job. Thank God they're doing it to try and find him. As of this recording, no one has been charged, no one has been arrested, and that fact has really been making some people angry. I updated my TikTok account with the police press conference. They wouldn't reveal a ton, but at least they told us Leilani was the primary and only suspect at this point. Leilani has been seen in mugshots from her previous arrests. She's had problems with substances. People are now comparing her already to Casey Anthony, Chris Watts, Susan Smith, everyone who has stood on camera and seemingly lied about what they may have done to their own child. So we're going to take a look and analyze Leilani and her mother's interview, quick snippets from WTOC. Previously floating around, there was a screenshot allegedly from Billy Joe Howell, who is Leilani's mom, Quinton's grandmom, claiming Quinton has passed with crying emojis. He's in a land filled and my daughter done it. She has no memory of it. We don't know if this screenshot is true or not, but some of the things that Leilani will say in this upcoming interview kind of flows into that logic that maybe Billy really knew what she was talking about, because after the screenshot came out, cops did indeed confirm they were searching a landfill, and whether or not Leilani has any culpability or memory of what she did is going to be addressed in these upcoming interview snippets as well. According to The Sun, court documents called Leilani a chronic, unrehabilitated substance abuser of cocaine and cannabis. So Leilani is going to claim, "My kids woke up to me screaming, 'Where's Quinton?' and running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, just started screaming for help."
My kids woke up to me screaming, "Where's Quinton?" and running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, just started screaming for help.
Despite all the evidence that Leilani and her mom were off partying and doing shots and flirting with people and claiming reporters were bothering them, almost like they wanted attention at this spot on Tybee Island outside of Savannah, Georgia, Leilani is going to claim that she's been here all the time. Even though cops believe she's not a flight risk, others were worried that Leilani and maybe her mom Billy were gonna just get the heck out of Dodge and not be seen again.
Here, I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
And I will walk with her.
But Leilani claimed, I'm here, I've been here every day since this. She doesn't quite say what this is. I'm not running and I'm not hiding. Then Leilani said, and if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station. And her mom Billy said, and I will walk with her. It sounds like, to me, that could be a blackout state or a denial or something going on there. With Leilani saying, if something does come up that I'm at fault, I will take myself to that police station. So that could jibe with that screenshot from Billy allegedly telling someone on Facebook her daughter did it, whatever it is, and she has no memory of it. So was it some kind of blackout state? Was Quinton crying? Did Leilani do something to him at that point and then kind of wake up out of a black rage and not really realize what the heck was going on? It reminds me of a series I started watching called Your Honor, and it's about a judge and his son accidentally hits someone, takes their life, and they at first think about turning themselves in, but they don't. They end up trying to hide. Leilani says, all we want is justice for Quinton Simon. We want justice for Quinton. Billy said, that's it. We want justice too. The women are saying, we want answers. Billy says, at whatever cost it is. We don't care the cost. We want answers just like everybody else does, Leilani said, by the end of it all. And then she starts saying, we love you, baby Q, my little monkey, and we want him home. And I know a lot of people call their kids monkeys. It reminds me of that case of Michael, Monkey, the missing little boy. In this instance, the way Leilani is speaking and the extra sniffing and you don't necessarily see tears. It's kind of hard to see. I tried to zoom in. There's a lot of sniffing and noises, and it just feels like acting. I'm going to say it, but even though there probably are regrets there, it does feel like showtime. Okay, it's time to put on a show for the camera and let me say some things that I've heard other people say.
All we want is justice for Quinton Simon.
That's it.
We want justice for
too.
Quinton.
At whatever cost it is. We don't care the cost.
We want answers just like everybody else does. At the end of it all, we love you, baby Q, my little monkey, and we want him home.
Leilani continued, every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening, if that's even understandable. So it's almost as if she's knowing, okay, I'm moving out of the tearful phase into the anger phase. You know, I've read about the stages of grief or something, even though that's not really true. Not everyone goes through those 5 stages of grief. Perhaps she was trying to explain away, I don't have tears here. I'm moving into my angry phase because I want a phone call. I want answers, basically, is what she's going to say. Leilani said, you wake up every day angry, hoping that you'll get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening. If that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
And Billy says something kind of odd, but maybe understandable. We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him found, not in that landfill. We want him found, and Leilani perfectly finishes her sentence, happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us, is what we want. I thought that was an interesting turn of a phrase, too. It's like we want this 20-month-old back in our arms, holding us. Not us holding him, not us comforting him, caring for him, but him holding us. I thought that was a different perspective, unique. There's a lot of, I wrote sniff, 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 because it becomes annoying when you watch certain quote-unquote grieving parents and they make sure to make a lot of sniff, sniff, sniff noises. Whereas we can feel truth. When you see a real grieving parent, and I'm not saying they're not grieving, but perhaps for different reasons, there's a difference in numbing yourself and grieving out of regret or negligence, something she's going to bring up, and just real pain. When you see a parent who has no idea where their child is, they're hurting, and the pain is palpable. When you see it come through and they speak from the heart, it's not really, some people thought it was a little rehearsed. They saw her kind of looking down, almost as if she was reading off of something. And people do that when they're upset, but people are calling her shady.
We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found
happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they are hoping that, you know, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not. That's their best hopes at this point.
Leilani moves into this phase saying, we're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him. We're hoping that, you know, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior, but it's not. That's our best hope at this point. We've heard that quite a bit from parents or different caregivers or whomever of a missing child. Sometimes they'll say, I hope whoever took him, maybe they just wanted to really care for this child more than I would, or they say things like that. Of course, that's wishful, maybe magical thinking, stuff you really hope happens, but in this instance, maybe it's just something that she heard others say. Meanwhile, Leilani was responding to all the protesters being around their house. Leilani said it makes it hard to even process what's going on around us. We get to the point that we have to barricade our own home in order to feel safe in our backyard. We can't even process what's happening everywhere else, or even have the time to do so. I can't even walk out and appreciate my own son's memorial, or put down the gifts that I got for him. I can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just. So first of all, she's talking about the gifts that she got her little baby Q, her little baby Quinton. I believe the babysitter has spoken out about just how ill-prepared things the baby needed sometimes she was when she got to watch Quinton. I don't think there were enough diapers and things of that nature. So for Leilani to say, oh, I can't even go out there and put down the gifts I got for Quinton, it reminds me of that saying, don't give me roses when I'm dead. Give them to me when I'm alive, you know, when I can appreciate them. And I just felt that there, like the gifts she got for Quinton. What kind of gifts did she buy him now that he's missing? Is it out of guilt? And, you know, why not try to do better when he was still with us? But that word, negligence, it doesn't fit here. And that reminds me of someone leaking truth, as they call it. I can't even go out there and do that without harassment. So that's a fitting word. And negligence, she says. Negligence? Why would protesters be negligent to you? That doesn't make sense. So I'm wondering if she's feeling the way she treated Quinton. Negligence. Negligence is a noun, which means failure to take proper care in doing something. Some of these accidents, quote unquote, are due to negligence. I wondered why she used that word. So she said, I can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just everything. It's just devastating to see that this is how the outside world reacts. So she doesn't like people reacting that way. And people are angry. I know sometimes people take it too far, like the folks who got arrested. Allegedly, people were blocking their driveway, banging on the doors. I like when people put pressure on others to try and do the right thing.
It makes it hard to even process what's going on around us. If we get to the point that we have to barricade our own home in order to feel safe in our backyard, because we can't even process what's happening everywhere else. or even have the time to do so. I can't even walk out and appreciate my own son's memorial or put down the gifts that I got for him. I can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just everything. It's devastating to see that this is how the outside world reacts.
If you watch Chronicles of Olivia, you will see Billy and Leilani kind of losing it. Sounds like Billy was, screaming out and wailing and crying for Quinton. In this interview, Leilani said, "We're in limbo. We're in limbo just like everybody else is. We're sitting here every day waiting for answers. Being in this house is hard. My mother and I can't even stay inside throughout the day. We are always outside because it's just so many memories that we don't know if we're ever going to have again." So Leilani's saying, we're always outside because there's so many memories of Quinton inside. Now, isn't that ironic with this screenshot floating around saying Leilani doesn't remember what happened, but she did it. And now Leilani's saying we have to go outside because there's too many memories of Quinton inside. So does she just remember happy time memories? Or is she remembering something deeper, more sinister that she has to get away from? Out, damn spot. Can't wash it out, can't wash it off. It's torturing her mind, perhaps, if she has memory of anything.
We're in limbo. We're in limbo just like everybody else is. We're sitting here every day waiting for answers. Being in this house is hard. My mother and I can't even stay inside throughout the day. We always are outside because there's just so many memories that we don't know if we're going to have again.
So, per WTOC, Billy also said, "We have no answer. We have no more than what everybody else has. Everybody just has theories, and they're running with theories. And by them doing that, that's what's causing all of this. We have no more answers than everybody else." I don't know if that's exactly what's causing all of this. That screenshot got a lot of people talking, so it's not just theories that folks are coming up with. Billy did have custody of Quinton at the time he disappeared, but Billy said she was out of town. Life has changed dramatically since. Billy said, "I just remember showing up and being devastated, just not like it was even real. It took me a couple of days to even comprehend that he wasn't here. And I shook and shook and shook, and I shake when I go to bed." Police, according to the Chatham County Police Department, they don't necessarily believe that Quinton was abducted or kidnapped. So they have evidence that claims he was likely placed in a dumpster. And that's why they're searching the landfill. There's been drama between Leilani and her mom, Billy, before. Both have histories in the court system. And Billy had wanted Leilani to move out with her boyfriend and the kids. So there's court docs dated September 8th, and Billy wrote, "Not looking to be compensated, just want them to move out as quickly as possible." So that was about a month before Quinton disappeared. She wrote, "Leilani Simon is my daughter, 22 years old, with her boyfriend and 3 kids. They have damaged my property, and at this point, no one is living in peace." So they were friendly enough as mom and daughter after Quinton disappeared to go hang out on the deck of Stingrays in Tybee Island outside of Savannah, Georgia. One server told the New York Post they were having a great time, like they didn't have a care in the world. They were drinking Patron shots in the deck area, being loud and laughing. It's almost like they were trying to draw attention to themselves. So eventually, they got that attention they were seeking. The server said people were getting upset. They just wanted them out of here. But they stayed for a long time, for hours. It was really strange. Meanwhile, the FBI has said, look, we are not just randomly searching this landfill. We have specific evidence that leads us to this large property, and it won't be a quick search, basically. Now, before we talk about Leilani's baby daddy and how Leilani tried to pin the blame on him, let's just read 1 Peter 1:24 through 25. "For all flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower falls off, but the word of the Lord endures forever. And this is the word, the good news of salvation, which was preached to you." Another reason people are really giving Leilani a side eye in the disappearance of her 20-month-old son, Quinton Simon, little cute boy, is because Quinton's dad told the Daily Mail that she was trying to blame him for the disappearance. So his name is Henry Moss, but they call him Bubba. And they call him like a shaggy-haired guy. I guess he's 24. You know, they're just young. I do feel for Leilani and anyone else having substance abuse problems. You know, I just feel bad that when children pay the price for those problems. Anyway, Bubba said Leilani's trying to blame it on me, but he says he was mowing his boss's lawn when police pulled up on him that day, October 5th. This is when police asked Bubba, did I have him? And when was the last time I was in Savannah? They told me Leilani said I came and got him overnight. So not only was there a delay in Quinton being reported missing, there's this confusion because Leilani was trying to blame Bubba for coming to get him. Oh, the baby's daddy came and got him. Bubba lives in Girard, Georgia. It's a rural town of about 250 people, but he said he hadn't been anywhere near Savannah for a month. He had installed an air conditioner near Tybee Island, and that's where Leilani and her mom were doing those tequila shots at a bar after Quinton disappeared. But Bubba is swearing he's told the truth. Bubba was at his house when Quinton disappeared. He left for work at 7:40 that morning. He gave alibis. He says there's CCTV footage from the next door gas station, and that proved he was home all night. He wasn't, in the middle of the night going over to snatch Quinton or anything. It was just a missing persons case at that time. But Bubba said, I told police she's gonna hurt that baby. I said I didn't know what was going on. Hell, I haven't heard from her in 6 to 7 months. He did say they had a turbulent history, a turbulent backstory. Initially, Leilani didn't even tell Bubba that she was pregnant with Quinton back in 2020. Bubba has 2 daughters with another woman, but he met Leilani at a swimming hole in 2019. Leilani had already had her own child, Zane. In the meantime, I might not have mentioned, but Billy, the grandma, has apparently lost custody of the other children, so they are in foster care as of this recording, and I hope it's a much better situation. But Bubba said Leilani didn't tell him until months later that she was pregnant. I didn't have no say in it, really, he said. So Leilani went to Alabama to give birth to Quinton in January 2021. So Bubba's name wasn't even on the birth certificate initially, and then Leilani went home. But Bubba did say Quinton was always happy and smiling. He didn't scream a lot, and he was a good baby. The reason Bubba and Leilani broke up was in February 2021 after he was served with an arrest warrant for breaking into a trailer home back in June 2020. Leilani had already been arrested for that crime, committed in the mobile home park near Waynesboro, where she was living with her mom, Billie Jo Howe. However, once again, Leilani had blamed Bubba. Now, the Daily Mail says they saw a police incident report claiming that Leilani allegedly cut her way through a screen and stole $50 from a coin jar. And then the 40-year-old victim, whose $50 it was, called the cops. When the victim was asked who he thought was responsible, he pointed out a female later identified as Leilani Marie Simon, who lives next door and was currently standing outside. Leilani eventually admitted to entering the camper and taking all of the change from the coin jar. But Leilani added that Bubba came over at approximately 8 a.m. today and convinced her to help him enter the camper. So Bubba's not even there, reportedly. Leilani was saying Bubba couldn't fit through the window, so she did it instead. Leilani was charged then with first-degree burglary, a felony. It was pleaded down to a criminal trespass, and she was given 12 months probation. So she's still on that probation and has another probationary period for a 2021 theft in North Carolina. So she's got her record. And now to add on to this, if charges do come down, they might be a lot more serious than charges she's ever had. A warrant was issued for Bubba's arrest in that case, but he didn't even know it at the time, according to him. Later that summer, a woman in another trailer there had her black and white Harley Davidson wallet stolen. The owner confronted Leilani, who blamed Bubba again. So Leilani said Bubba stole it, but the report points out the victim didn't witness that theft, so no arrest was made. At that point, apparently Leilani and Billy Joe had been evicted. Billy Joe was working as a union worker at a nearby nuclear plant that summer. That's when Leilani moved in with Bubba near the town of Hiltonia, I guess it is. But their relationship didn't last. Bubba called Leilani a cheater and a liar, a homemaker who spent her days snorting coke and smoking marijuana. Bubba saying she did coke every day, all day, as much as she could. Leilani exhibited a violent temper and would lash out at him when she was craving more drugs. When she didn't get no money from me to get effing drugs, she'd go crazy. She hit me a few times in the face. So that's what Bubba is saying. He's also claiming she would sleep with other men to get cash for drugs. Then everything fell apart. According to Bubba, he had his best friend Morgan record for him that Leilani admitted to framing him. I'm saying, why'd you do that though? Bubba could be heard asking Leilani that. That's effed up. I can't believe it still, huh? What, you gonna tell them the effing truth now or what? Leilani says, yes, Bubba, I'm going to tell them the truth. I've already called up there. I have so many different effing recorded messages when you call them. I'm going to tell the truth. That you didn't do anything. That's when Bubba says, I know, but damn, you shouldn't be lying and everything else. That we be together and everything else. He said, damn man, you effing my life up with this. I got locked up. I mean, it's effing stupid. Why? I'm so mad. There should have never been no mother effing charges. So apparently that's a 5-minute recording, which, goes back and forth on the state of their relationship. Quinton was only a 7-week-old baby at that time, and Bubba was still wondering if he was really the biological father of Quinton. He said, I'll keep that baby and take care of him and all, so if he's mine, we're going to get a DNA test. If he's mine, I want to put his mother effing name right on his birth certificate and change his last name. He can live with me. I'll do that. Put him in mother effing daycare, whatever I've got to do, I'll take care of him. I promise you that. So if only that had gone that way. That would have been lovely. So then he goes on to accuse her of sleeping with other men. She is insisting no. Leilani is saying, I ain't effed nobody but Bubba Moss in 2021, she insists, although she had become pregnant with Quinton the year before. I ain't never effed Tim either. That boy's a child. So they split up and Leilani left town after that argument. Bubba said the only reason I'm not in Quinton's life is because she left. She was not welcome here anymore with all her lying and stealing. And Bubba has had his own trouble with the law, arrested for fighting, criminal trespass, and possession of marijuana. So at the time that Quinton disappeared, that's why Leilani was living with Quinton and Zane and her boyfriend Danny Youngkin, Billy Joe, and her husband Thomas Howe. That's how Billy Joe got legal custody of Quinton and the 3-year-old brother Zane. But now that she was out of town October 5th, Quinton has gone missing. We don't really know what happened, and the other child is in daycare. Supposedly Youngkin, Leilani's boyfriend, was the last one to see Quinton around 6 a.m. Around 6 a.m. that October 5th. But it wasn't until after 9 a.m. that Leilani reported him missing. And that's when cops confronted Bubba, Leilani's ex, who is Quinton's dad. He is the bio dad because investigators had Bubba take a DNA test to prove his paternity, and it came back a match. The next night when Bubba came over Billy Joe's house to talk to Leilani and Billy Joe, they were gathered in the backyard, and according to Bubba, it seemed more like a party than a time of grief. He said every one of them was high as a kite and drunk as hell. Leilani was on something. She wasn't crying when I walked up. She was laughing and having a good time with everybody. It looked like a party. I didn't tell her what the FBI told me. All I said was, how did Quinton go missing? How did a 20-month-old go walk out? And that was my question from the beginning. I'm like, how's a 20-month-old going to get out of his pack and play and go opening doors and climbing out windows? I mean, I know some kids are really astute and dexterous and they have great dexterity and they can get places you wouldn't expect, but he is a 20-month-old, not a 3-year-old or 5-year-old. Bubba said she didn't have anything to say to me. All she said was sorry and that she didn't know what happened to him. That's all she does is lie. He said that after a few minutes after he spoke with her, she cried. And that's when authorities were draining the backyard pool, as we saw on the news. It was full when Bubba stopped by. But a week after Quinton's disappearance, that's when police said, look, we don't think Quinton is with us anymore, and we think his mom is the main suspect. They still haven't found Quinton as we speak. Bubba said, I can't believe she ain't locked up now. She's a terrible person, and she's going to jail or hell. She's evil. She shouldn't be out here in society. If she didn't want him, she could have told me. I would have come and got him. So it's another sad story. It's this looking like a person who is trying to maybe absolve themselves of what they did. And I'm not coming down on her if she is suffering from substance abuse, but I do implore her to speak what she knows, speak the truth, go to jail, serve her time, stay in there, get clean. Like my ministry leader says, one of the best things to do sometimes is go to jail, because that can make a person clean. That can give them time for God to literally really speak to their heart, to really repent for real. I'm talking for real, like how Bubba is saying, Leilani's going to hell. It doesn't have to be that way, Leilani or Billy or anybody. If you really literally come out and tell the truth about what you know, about what anyone did, and fall on Christ. There's a verse about falling on the rock as opposed to having that rock fall on you. So fall on the rock of ages, the root of Jesse, the Spirit of Christ. Fall on him and tell everyone the truth about what you know so Quinton can be found. If you're holding back on anything you remember, take your lumps, and it's better than trying to drown out sorrows with tequila shots or substances or break-ins or all this drama. The protesters are there for a reason, because this little 20-month-old boy should still be here, well taken care of and alive. So that's where I'll end it, but I do implore those involved, tell the truth. If it has to be prison, it's not the worst thing in the world, because at least you'll get the chance to literally start clean, be born again, live a better life, and you can actually still look forward to heaven, because that's what the blood of Jesus is for. For any blood spilled, any sins, any murders, any just the worst possible things you can think of. Confess with your mouth. Believe it in your heart that he is Savior, and you can start again. It'll be a much better life, I promise you, than trying to drown out your sorrows, getting high and trying to forget something you won't forget. Thanks so much for watching.